99% of what happens in this community, you just don't see. You don't see it on TV. You don't hear about it. It's not a fun topic, so it's easy to turn off. It's easy to change a channel. And that's what, in reality, that's what our Congress, our politics, all that kind of stuff, it does leave that out of the story and doesn't hear about it. They see these kids come in, they're smiling, they're happy, they can just be themselves and just be kids. But to hear one of them tell you about a horrible situation or a bad chemo side effect or this, that, and all of that, those details, I honestly don't, I challenge anybody to not get emotional listening to that. But how do we, the question becomes now, how do you navigate a political landscape where we're a lot of times just left out of the situation or left out of the conversation unless it's convenient for a talking point, unless it's convenient for the news. And that doesn't have to be political party aligned. That just has to be, how do we get everybody to listen no matter what and go back to your original platforms, which every single person has had, or we're going to take care of the kids, or we're going to fight for kids, no matter what. Where did we lose that? And how do we navigate it now?
Yeah, question that I've been thinking about, I think every year for CureFest, every year, it's like the people that are there, since we've been going in 2019, are us that's in the fight, or have seen kids or besides kids that are fighting, nurses, doctors, family. But how do we make it so big that others that don't have family members or friends that they know get involved and care, and just care and just to be there to support these kids and families that have gone through so much? What will it take for you to spend a couple hours out of your Saturday to come march with us on the National Mall, to rally to the Capitol? It's not that long. It's not even probably a mile. Right? It's not that long. I mean, kids are in their wheelchairs getting there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that will speak volumes too. Just get more people out there, because the more of us that are saying the same thing, it gets amplified and it gets louder and it reaches more people. But how do we do that? Like, we need more people to be out there caring as much as we do that are not in the fight, because we're exhausted. And we do it because we have to, we have to and we want to, but we are exhausted. Some of us still have kids that are going through treatment right now, and we're out there fighting and walking and chanting. Ailani's first CureFest, she wasn't even a couple months out of her first bone marrow transplant. Yeah. I think her transplant was in July, and we went to CureFest in September. And her oncologist, her bone marrow transplant doctor, she was like, make sure she's not around, a lot of people. We had her in this wagon and the thing zipped up, and it's all this, and like she was in there, a little bald head. But yeah, I don't know. That's one of my dreams, is to make it. But I want it to be big, and I want people to come out and support, and all people and celebrities and all this kind of stuff. But I also don't want it to be, what I'm trying to say, like taken over by people that are just going to make money, and the money's not going to go towards what we want it to go to, which is the kids and the research. If that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I think in my mind, like Susan G. Komen, right? It is so big. It's so huge. When October comes, no. September comes around, it's pink everywhere. You know what I mean? It's already pink in Walmart. It's pink everywhere. You can't go anywhere without seeing a pink ribbon for breast cancer, and it's in October. And sometimes I feel like just give us September. Just paint the town gold with September for our kids, okay?
Yeah.
And let that start in June and July, or whatever. So I want it to be recognized that our kids are fighting, and they need better medicine. They need better research. They need more people to know and care about childhood cancer, so we can find a cure for all of our kids.
No, I wish to the heavens that we could be, that gold could be, as big as pink, if it's as easy as it is to just say that, because everybody knows what the color means in October, but it does take over. It does take over everything. And it's unfortunate that we have to fight for so much when the reality of it is that it doesn't matter where you are in life and what you think, what you support, what your value, and none of that. Our kids are literally the only future that we have as a country, as a world, as anything. And if our kids don't survive, if they don't get to adulthood, if they don't get to those places, then we don't have anything. We have nothing. We're living out our life, and then that's the end of it. We've got to find ways to get that across. And it's so easy to do things for them by just changing the color of a light bulb. You know what I mean? It's so simple and it's so easy to do. And, I did an experiment a few years ago where I called a bunch of stores. I called, big name stores, and I asked them I said, what cancer awareness items do you have in your store? And first of all, they all told me they had no idea if they had anything, when I know for a fact that they had stuff there. And then I asked about, what about putting gold stuff in your stores in September and things like that. We'll have somebody call you back. Well, obviously you understand nobody ever called me back. We were approached to make a donation to, I think, Susan G. Komen in September by a store. And I said, you guys know that it's September, right? Like, this. And I went on and I told them about it. And the person, I don't think it was meant negatively. I think it was a knee-jerk comment, but they said, well, pink just sells better. And, that's the kind of mindset that we're trying to get past and trying to get to go away. Yes, it may, because everybody knows what it is, but we want everybody to know what this is too. And we want everybody to understand that without our kids, without them getting to where they're going to be in life and where they should be in life, there's not going to be any future doctors, any future nurses, politicians, presidents, whatever, because our kids didn't get there and they need to, and you have children that are still battling this and fighting this, and you're as a parent watching, trying to figure out the next move and be 10 steps ahead every single day. And, parents in our case that we've lost our child, we know we couldn't save her. We knew we couldn't do anything. We will now have what ifs for the rest of our life, but we want to make sure that other kids like Ailani are getting past this, are beating it, getting into adulthood, and then using that story to say, look what I did. If I can do hard things, so can you, and using that kind of, attitude moving forward. That's what we want to see. That's all we're asking for. I don't think that's too much to ask, just to listen and just help us get to that.
Yeah, to the store thing. I don't know how to do that either, because a couple years ago, I did the exact same thing you did. Personally walked into some stores, sent letters to stores, Walmart, and I'm like, do you know what September represents for children? And, I talked to the managers and I told them, and a lot of them just didn't know. And he's like, that is such a great idea. I said, can you just put gold balloons up when people walk in and have maybe a few T-shirts with, go. And he was like, that, the manager saw, that is such a good idea. I had no idea. Can you call corporate and do this? I said, oh yeah, I call, I send letters. And of course, the same thing, right? The same thing that you got, I pretty much got. I mean, Starbucks, I had a whole list of them. I'm like, we're going to get some gold in some of these stores. I'm sick and tired of seeing, September get wiped out by pink. I love pink. It's one of my favorite colors, and I'm not downplaying it at all. But I just want our kids to be seen and heard and know that their fight is important. It's important as well. But how do we, where do we start? Getting them in stores, getting them seen and notarized so that people can care, other than us that's in the fight. I really don't know. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm going to ask Grok. I'm going to ask AI.
That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. No, I wish I knew the answer. I really do. I wish I knew what we could do. I wish I knew what it was, what the possibilities, what they could be, what it would take to get people to realize that the one thing that I can tell you that I tell now, or that I say to people that, I used to do it nice, be respectful and everything like that. But what we need to do, unfortunately now, it's when it's approaching corporate CEOs, or you're approaching your representative in Congress, every single one of them on their desk, if you walk into their office, have pictures of their children. And the reality of it is, you have to look at them and say, the statistical reality right now is that it could be any one of them any day. And that's not a threat. That's not a promise. That's just the reality of it. We weren't, I say it, it's such a simple thing to say. We weren't cancer parents until the day that we were. And that's what I want people to understand, that you would care then, you would dump your millions in then, you would write bills then, you would do what you had to do to save your kid. But that's what we're doing with a third of the resources. You know what I mean? We don't have the money and the backing and all of that, the legislative power, whatever you want to call it, to do this. We need your help to make this happen. We need your help to ensure that you can continue staying where you are because our kids are growing up and they're spending money on your companies. You can continue to stay where you are because they grow up and they can vote you back into office. You need all of these kids to do this. The other side of things is that, with our nonprofit trying to get donations, and you have companies that will deny it and say, well, it doesn't align with our giving priorities, which I'm still trying to figure out what that means. But the simplest form is, give me an industry and I'll find a way to attach kids to it, a period, no matter what. Kids affect and are a part of everything in our lives, and they're a part, whether you want kids, whether you have kids, whether you're in this community or not, they affect everything and they're a part of everything. We've got to find a way to give them what they need to get through the hardest times in life that they were never meant to face. And that us as parents, I don't think we're truly built to deal with. We're built to protect, we're built to love them, we're built to support them, we're built to be there, but we are not built to fill out DNR paperwork for our kids. We're not built to bury our kids. We can't. We only do it because we're in survival mode at that moment. And we've got to find a way to change that. We have to. And together as a community, as families, and people that come together that are not part of this, that just want to be alongside of a great community, but also ensure that these kids get a chance, that's what we need more of. And you're absolutely right. We love advocates that come in that have no connection to this, because that shows pure hearts that you want to be a part of something that doesn't affect you, but affects everything around you. And we love that. So to any advocates out there that are a part of this, that come to CureFest, that go to DC with us to walk the halls, thank you, honestly.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a great opportunity too, just for kids to get involved with organizations that are for kids, like Kids versus Cancer. Don't have to be a cancer kid to get involved with Kids versus Cancer. You don't have to be a sibling to get involved with Kids versus Cancer and get out there and get on the Hill and lobby for children with cancer. But I also think there's not enough information for kids to know that, like high school, put it in some of the schools, high schools, middle schools, and stuff like that. Say, hey, you kids want an opportunity to do something bigger than yourselves? Go fight for kids with cancer, or I don't know, many other things besides getting into things that they don't need to get into, right? But yeah, Ailani, she is a great advocate for childhood cancer, and I love that she loves to do that, and she's not afraid to tell her story and to talk about her story to anybody. Sometimes I think our kids may get into, they get into the age where it's embarrassing. Could be, the teen might be a little embarrassing to go through stuff like that, to lose their hair, and to have to be in the hospital, and they miss their friends, of course, and they're missing school, and that's a big dynamic change for them. And I think that's hard, I think that's really hard. Ailani was young too when she was diagnosed, and so she just grew up in this world, and that's still unfortunate, but it's also fortunate because she is so compassionate about her journey and other kids that are going through it, so, and she's, I don't know, I don't know, you saw her talking to the president. We had no idea that she was going to have a speech. She wasn't even on the agenda to speak, actually. She wasn't even on the agenda. And he asked her a question and she had some. And I even was like, how did you just say that? You just came up. She was like, I knew what I wanted to say. I was like, okay, I can't do that. I have to be a little prepared, just like, oh yeah, talking about my journey. So, and we love that about her. Even this week she spoke, and she just has a gift, and I'm so grateful and blessed that she can be able to do that, to use her voice. And I hope that it changes the childhood cancer community in some kind of way, for the better. Yeah. And Ailani, you let people know she's not out of the woods. She's not cured, but we have been very blessed to be able to get her into some of the novel therapies and some of the clinical trials that has extended her life. She just turned 10 years old, but that's not meaning she's cured. She's only been without any evidence of disease for a little over a year. So she's been fighting since she was 2, and she's relapsed every year, pretty much every year. So it's like starting back over. The diagnosis is hard. A relapse is harder, and another relapse is harder. It doesn't get easier. We're just so thankful. I think if it's usually not one day goes by where we're not thinking about cancer, childhood cancer, but I think I might have had 2 days that I didn't think about it, her having it, maybe 2 days. But any rash, any bleeding gums, any scratch, and everything always makes my heart beat harder. And I'm like, oh gosh, what is it? What could it be? Is it nothing? Is it something? And I think that's for all of us childhood cancer parents. It's something that we deal with and live with. Yeah.
That is an anxiety, and that just doesn't ever go away. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the worst side effects for us as parents to deal with, is that a bruise is never a bruise anymore, a headache's never a headache anymore, and if you have other children, you often tend to kind of push that fear onto them as well. It's something that we absolutely have dealt with in this house. We have 2 older daughters as well, and it's every time something goes, oh my God, and I'm like, you've got to reel it back in a little bit, and you've got to just kind of take it slow, one step at a time, and not look at the worst. You will drive yourself absolutely crazy with that kind of stuff, and it just kind of comes with the territory, unfortunately. But I'm so encouraged to, that number one, you've been able to be a part of, or she's been able to be a part of therapies, different types of therapies. Clinical trials can be difficult to get into. They can be difficult to be included in. If you don't know, clinical trials are weird in a way that where you can't be too sick, but you can't be too well. It's kind of like a middle ground, and it's a lot of it is location based. You've got to be right where it is. So there's a lot of difficulties in that, and it's a lot of hiccups, really, a lot of speed bumps that are put in your way and try to, almost not allow you to get to where you need to be. But I'm encouraged that she's been able to be a part of that she's doing well right now. And that, you're not out of the woods, and it's understandable. There's always that worry. It's unfortunate that's, and I think us, and this is apparent, us as dads handle things different than moms. Moms have a mama gut that you just cannot beat out, that just beats out Western medicine altogether. I'm telling you, they know when something's wrong, and it's an incredible thing to really watch and understand, and watch my wife go, through all the stuff that JC went through, and thank God that she went that extra mile to find out what was happening, and so that we could give her the best chance. It doesn't always work out, but we want everybody to see the ups and downs, the ins and outs of this community, because honestly, I don't want to be pigeonholed by a 10-second commercial. I want you to understand the realities of it, and the realities that we deal with every day, and that, scanxiety is a real thing. And Pete, to be honest with you, before getting involved in this community, or thrust into it against my will, PTSD, I only ever associated with the military. I really did. I never associated it with anything outside of that. And then you get into this and you think, no, we really do have this going forward, moving through all that you've gone through. We really do have all of that PTSD from watching our kids and making these decisions. And it's very tough to deal with. And not everybody deals with the same way. This personally, and, being a part of it and advocating, that's my therapy. That's how I kind of express what I'm going through, because I feel like I'm connecting with the right people, and I'm talking to the right people, and around people that understand me. So I want to be able to continue to do that. I want to be able to continue to see these kids grow and succeed and beat this damn thing. I love hearing success stories. I really do. For a long time, people wouldn't tell me success stories because they think it was too hard for us, but I want to hear it. I want to, because I know that although we couldn't save JC, for what we do now, we could maybe save somebody else, or give them the guidance that they need, or the shoulder that they need. And that's all her living through us. And that's what we do with these kids.
Yeah, you say you want to be around like-minded people, or people like us, or people in this community. And same, right? I feel that, because it's so different than, our lives are so different, I guess I should say. Before we were military, and we're a lot of military friends, and when you're just say you're in a group, you're in the military, you have stories, and you have adventures, and what we call sea stories, and things you've gone through that a lot of other people have no idea about. They just don't know. They can't relate. right? And that's the same thing with us and childhood cancer families. We have a bond with each other, something that we've gone through. We know how to talk to each other. We know when someone's, we just know their heart. We know their feeling. We know anxiety. We know when those days come up when it's about to be appointment days or scan days. We can just speak to each other differently and we know each other differently. And it's just a different kind of talk, a different kind of bond, and a different kind of family than most people wouldn't know, couldn't understand. That's one thing that I like about being able to be around people like us, our people. I say our people, but our community, right? Childhood cancer community is because we can talk about, well, this scan came back, or what do you think about this numbers, or, stuff like that. And no one else can. And a lot of people, they don't want to, they don't want to, they shy away from it. They shy away from seeing a bald kid or a sick kid, or they don't want to ask about, well, what happened, or how's the hospital going, or they don't want to know about it. They don't want to. And I can't necessarily fault them from that because it's hard. It's hard to see kids sick. It's hard to see them in the hospital. It's hard to see them bald. It's hard to see them on crutches or in wheelchairs. I understand that, but that's our life. It just is. It is. And so I feel like you're either going to shy away from it and don't want to look at it and don't want to be involved in this community anymore, or you're going to get in it, right? You're going to get in it. What can we do? How can we help? What is it can we talk about? Who do we need to see? And my husband, he is pretty amazing too, because he goes to different childhood cancer conferences. A lot of times they think he's a doctor. He's like, I'm a parent, but I have to be here. Childhood, blood cancer conferences with doctors and researchers and stuff like that. And he goes to those things every year. He goes because he's like, I need to know what our next step's going to be. We always try to have A, B, and C, because unfortunately, that's kind of how our life has been. A didn't work. We had to go to B. We need a backup plan. And even now, we need a backup plan. And we know that. We don't have one now, but we're always looking. We're always looking at clinical trials. He's still going to different conferences and seeing what's the latest and greatest thing that's out there or could come up just in case we need it for Ailani, and he's been doing this for many years. Like he goes to the conferences, and I think it was in Florida last year or California or wherever it is. And he gets in there and talks to these doctors and gets this information. And sometimes that's how we get in know about some of the trials ahead of time and get into them because he's doing that footwork. The doctors, the oncologists and stuff, they can't do all of that because they have more patients than Ailani, and we understand that. So a lot of the work, a lot of the information, and a lot of research we had to do on our own to figure out this trial. We've stalked doctors. I ain't kidding. We stalked them. This is Ailani. This is, and I don't know. You never know what God has planned for you because we always try to make our own plans, but we don't always know what He has in store for us. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's very true. But it is absolutely apparent in everything that you've done everything possible to find the answers that you need. And getting to that point is never easy. Getting to the next day is never easy. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. None of us are, and we're well aware of that. And we see that every day in this community. And we know that there's a problem. We know that there's an issue. We know as parents going through this, although we're fighting alongside our kids, we still have a fight that's bigger than that, trying to ensure that not only them, but their friends and their friends' friends have the ability to beat this and to get past this and not have to have it. Because none of us want, to be honest with you, hopefully one day CureFest will no longer be. And that's not because we don't want to go, because we don't love the people, but because we won't be needed. We won't have to go and see that stage, the people in front of the stage holding the candles, that group gets bigger every year. That's not what we want to see. We want to see that group get smaller and disappear. And because that means that we've figured this out. We've figured this issue out. We've given these kids an opportunity. We've given them a chance. We're part of the biggest and greatest community that we never wanted to be, or never really, to be ignorant a little bit, to never really knew how that it even existed to the level that it does now. But the people that you meet are just hands down the greatest in the world, and they will give you the shirt off their back, and they will go scorched earth for you any day. And to ensure that you have what you need, or just to be there for you, you're going through your own battle. and you're still willing to give somebody an ear to listen to, or a shoulder to cry on, or just be there to let them vent. You know what I mean? And that's all we ask for from our community, is just to be there. But from everybody on the outside, listen to what we're saying, listen to what we're telling you, and realize that this problem isn't something that's small. We're all a part of it because it's obviously not a small issue, and we just want to see things move forward. You know, yes, you see these kids and they have, with the one side effect that everybody recognizes is no hair, and you think that when the hair starts to grow back, that obviously everything's under control. It's not the case. And you realize that the support needs to continue past all of that, and to continue past anything, whether, again, you get into maintenance to ring the bell, or if the child passes away, that support needs to continue. That support needs to get bigger, because that's when we're really starting the battle. That's when we're starting to fight and figure this all out. We're all at different stages of this community. We're all at different levels of this, but we're working together. And like you said, the louder we are saying the same thing, the more people are going to hear what we're saying. If we're all screaming different things and acting ridiculous, nobody's listening and they tune you out. We have to speak together, speak the same cause. And I think that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do.
I think so. I think, so, man, just look at last year at CureFest. Look how big it had grown. Look how many tables and more organizations and foundations. I'm like, oh my God, I think we done run out of space. It's like every space was, occupied. It was another table. At some point, kind of like, is this because more people are being diagnosed? But I think it's more people are just hearing about it. That's what I think. I think it's just more people, the word's getting out there that there is this thing where families like ours can come and socialize and learn about different, whatever it might be, different trials, different families, different organizations, different foundations. I want to believe that's why. It's just because more people are learning about it and are able to come and be a part of it. Not that it's just so many more being diagnosed. That's what I want to, but I think it's great. I was just like, wow, look at all these tables here this year. And even the year before, I was like, oh man, there's a lot of tables here this year, and I hope all those tables and all the people that are there with the organizations and foundations, that they're also yelling it from wherever they come from, whatever state and whatever town, they're doing the same thing, maybe having their own smaller little CureFest or something like that.
Yep, that would be, and you know what? I hope right along with you that's the reason. And I truly believe, I think that you are seeing more and more people come that are just want to be a part of that event, but just to be surrounded by people that understand. I think that's the biggest thing. When we went the first year, we weren't sure if we wanted to go. It was 3 months after JC had passed, and we weren't sure, but it was the best decision we ever made, to be a part of that. And it was in 2020 a lot smaller, even prior to you take COVID out of it. It was a lot smaller even then. And over the last few years, it has just ballooned and you can't even walk out there sometimes during stuff. But it's incredible, because it means the community's coming together. And the more and more that we have, well, we're going to have to take up more of the National Mall, and more people are going to have to get involved. And maybe people that are sitting on the benches are just going to get up and get involved with us and just walk with us. That would be phenomenal, and maybe we're headed in that direction, and I hope so. But it's a lot of work, but we're willing to put that work in, because we know what the future holds with our kids in it. That's the best part of it. So we have covered a ton, and we've given, I think, the purpose of all of this is always to give insight that people don't see on the outside, don't see in the media. They give us an insight that I can do unfiltered and not edit things out for TV purposes. What I like to do with as we get to the end, I like to always ask my guests for their best advice that you can give, whether it's people in the community, people that are newly diagnosed or that are going through things, your best advice that you can give to somebody else from what you've learned and what you've experienced going through this with Ailani.
Well, I guess the thing I would say is to always have hope. Always have hope. We were told to take Ailani home more than once, take her home and make memories. We were told that. But I feel like if you know your child still has some fight in her and there's something that could possibly be done, continue to have hope and continue to fight, and that's really what we did. We just didn't see that she was done in this world and done fighting. Thankfully, there was trials that we were able to get into for her, to extend her life. And that's what we wanted to do. Like, just if we could just kick this can down the road, maybe something else is going to come. Maybe something better. Maybe there is a cure. Something is happening. Maybe something's going to happen. And we did that because we continue to have hope, and pray and have hope. And that's what else can you do? It's not a whole lot else you could do. You can have hope, you can pray, you can believe. And like you said, we're all going to leave this world at some point. Nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring. But what can you do for today is you can always have hope.
I don't think that, anybody can say it any better. Hope is probably one of the biggest words that we can use in this community, that it can mean a million different things, but it always shows up when you need it. There's hope at every stage. That was the theme of my entire speech last year that I was honored to give at CureFest, was about hope and being that the hope that always shows up, the hope that's always there. And no matter what, it's always going to carry you through things and give you what you need to get to the next day. And so never give up that. Never be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to lean on your community. We're here for you. That's part of all of that. So now I would just ask, like I said, we covered a lot. Did I miss anything, or did you miss anything that you wanted to share before we get out of here?
I don't know. We did talk about a lot. I don't think so. I think, let me think. Did you miss anything? I don't know. Here's one thing I will say too. We learned about when Ailani was diagnosed in 2019, my husband and I, we would stay up all night researching and looking, and we found, on social media, we found the leukemia page. And then from there, so much has grown on social media with different pages popping up and different, help and resources. It wasn't a whole lot back then, but it was one. And just talking to other families going through this, it has helped a lot because you get to learn different things and learn different hospitals and learn different medicines and trials and stuff like that. And that's one thing I would tell people in the hospital. Like, have you been on social media? Have you looked at this page? Look up this group or look up this page, because it can really help. If you're there by yourself with no other information, you're not going to get a lot in the hospital to be. The social workers only have so much information that they'll give you. They're not always forthcoming with stuff. You know what I mean? Different organizations or foundations and families that has been through it, and they know how to navigate these crazy trials or hospitals, or this is the best doctor in this particular cancer, or this is the hospital you want to go to, or, look into this or look into that. All that for us came from social media and reading other families' posts and seeing other families go through certain things and asking those questions. And I feel like if some parents are not on social media, they're missing out. They're missing out on some information that could be very helpful to their child. And that's just my honest opinion, but that's what I think, because we found so much good information on social media and so many other parents. And I can't even tell you how many parents have contacted me on social media about, hey, I heard about, I see Ailani. I heard, you know anything about this trial? I mean, even overseas, so many people. And I'm like, how does people find me? Like, what's happening here? But I'm so glad they did, But yeah, I know a lot of people don't like social media and they don't want to be on it, but it can be such a great help for certain situations, and just to be in our, being in the community, to learn what other people are going through or how they got through certain things,
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else. There probably is. We could probably go on and on.
Well, that's 100% possible. We could talk for hours about this stuff and not even scratch the surface. But yeah, I will second that and say that social media is a very love-hate relationship, 100%. But it definitely is where we were able to find resources in people that led to resources in organizations. And that's the biggest thing, because people that are already involved in this, I think that one of the, through the organization that we started with JC, the biggest thing that we offer, and one of the things I'm the most proud of, is being a resource to other people. And that's not that I had the information. What I mean is that I've met enough people and I've met enough organizations that if I don't have an answer for you, I know who does, and I can put you in that contact. And I think that's so it's so empowering, because that means that our community is getting those answers that we so desperately searched for. 2020, when there was really nothing, as far as I'm concerned, that was out there for us, we were on an island, which is what most parents feel like. So that being, yeah, it is a love-hate relationship, but, don't shy away from social media. It is a huge resource. It is a huge network of families. We become a network of people that will just embrace you and get you to where you need to go, or at least give you the confidence in knowing that you're not alone.
Yeah, and I feel like if your child wants to get involved with the community, let them, because that's their people. I love how CureFest, they have the young adults, they go do their own thing. They have like their own night, and they go and, I think they went on a ship or something last time, but it's like that's their community. They can understand each other. And even the camps and stuff that the kids get to do, some in some areas, like Ailani goes to a camp for a week, and she cannot wait to give her battle buddies. Oh my gosh. They just, they are just so sweet and so cute, and they just love each other, and it's just different. It's a different kind of vibe than seeing her with like maybe some of her kids, her friends at school. But the kids, her battle buddies, they are something else, and they love camp, and they love the nurses and oncologists, and I think it's great. I think it's great. At first, I was like, no, you're not staying overnight. I'm like, no way. But, her nurses and doctors like, we're here, we're going to take care of her. And I'm like, yeah, well, me and Kurt will be laying outside in our car, sitting out there waiting all night. And it's like, no, go home, go home. But I love that they have that community too. It's just them, and they can talk about pokies and medicine and how many bald heads they've had, and, who has a brace on their leg, or who doesn't have a kidney, or how many kidneys they have in their cabin. Just stuff that we don't necessarily talk about, but they do. And so I love that for them to be able to have that community, and for us parents to have our community as well.
Yeah, like I said, it is incredible. We've built a network of people, and we're here for each other on every level. And the kids, yeah, every year CureFest seems to add more and more and more to it, which is awesome. Overwhelming as well, but awesome that they're able to do that, including the siblings, including the kids at all different levels of ages and things like that, and giving them an outlet and giving them community, and yeah, they come together, and who better to tell their story than them? Who better to fight for them than them?
Yeah.
Yeah, we drive the car and get you there, but you're the one doing the work and putting it in. And when they have that initiative and that drive at such a young age to do that, when they don't have to, they could just get through this and fade away and into the background and not have to be out in the spotlight. No, they want to be out there fighting for other kids, because that's who they are. They want to be able to give back, and that's incredible. So I'm happy to see it happen. I'm happy to see, more and more things be added and give everybody an outlet, and that community is huge. So
It makes them feel that they actually are part of something, and it's not negative. It's just part of life. And we tell Ailani that she's asked a few times, like, Mommy, why did I get cancer? Why come I had to get cancer? Why did I have to do this? So, those questions. And we always tell her, you were strong. God gave you cancer because you were strong enough to handle it, right? You're a fighter, and you can do this. Everybody has their thing, Ailani. They might not be cancer. It could be something else. It could be diabetes. Like, everybody has something that they have to get through in life that's hard. And yours was cancer. And that's okay. I say, you just explain it to her that way, so she doesn't feel like, poor me, which it is. We don't say that to her, but we know it. But we don't tell her like that, because we don't want her to feel sorry for herself. We want her to do better for herself, and help other kids if she can. So.
well, I'm glad that she's asking the questions, because it just shows maturity of what they've gone through and trying to understand and stuff like that. I hate that they have to ask those questions, but at the same time, they're still just kids, and that's just the way that it is. But they're, like I said, it's amazing. It's amazing to see them every single year, to see kids that are on stage or things like that, or where you see them on social media, what's going on, and see them continuing to grow and to do what they need to do and be at the forefront of advocating and doing something meaningful that a lot of people would shy away from. It's incredible to watch. So I mean, otherwise, yeah, like I said, we could just talk about this for hours, and we can talk about these kids for hours, and I would love to do that. I would love to do that. But yeah, it's really, but it's been really great. And like I said, we've had the honor of meeting the last couple of years, and being able to hear the very commanding voice at the front of that march on the National Mall that leads everything, that just keeps us all in line. And it was incredible. I mean, it's always incredible, and I hope to continue to hear that. I hope we continue to work together on all of this and stay on the forefront of this fight. And we'll just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other, and supporting each other and supporting these kids. And that's what we're here for.
Thank you so much for having me on and talking. It is a therapy, it really is.
Yeah, it helps a lot. One day maybe I'll actually need professional therapy for all of this stuff, but I think this is the best thing for me. I love doing it because talking about it, I think, is the best medicine. So it doesn't matter what stage you're in, being able to express everything is so important. So I will say that I appreciate you taking the time. I know you said it was last minute. You had a minute in there, so I'm glad that you did that. But I'm very happy, proud to have been able to speak to you today and to being able to meet you in the past and watch Ailani grow, honestly, from in those speeches and whatever she does, she just takes command of it, which I love, and I think that's great. So to you and your husband and to her, I wish you guys all the best, and I can't wait to see you all again. And once again, thank you for taking the time with me today.
Yeah.
All right, and everybody else, we will see you all next week.